The execution chamber clock read asterisk asterisk 4:57 a.m. asterisk asterisk. 3 minutes early. Too early. The dog stopped, right at the threshold. Paws locked against the cold concrete, refusing. Handler pulling the leash tighter. Move, Atlas. Heel. Nothing. The canine didn't blink, didn't shift, just stared past the glass at the man already strapped to the chair, and then Atlas stepped forward, not toward the inmate, but toward the guard standing beside him, blocking him, positioning, protective. Wrong target. Completely wrong. That's when the room changed. Because a trained police dog doesn't make mistakes like that. What happened inside that room wasn't supposed to happen. Not under protocol. Not under law. Not under anything people trusted. A death row inmate made one final request, to see the police dog that once worked beside him. Simple. Controlled, emotional, but contained. Except when the dog arrived, he didn't recognize a reunion. He recognized a threat. And what that dog revealed in the final minutes before execution forced everyone in that room to question something far bigger than guilt. If you've ever believed that instinct can see what evidence hides, stay with his story. Because once Atlas refused to obey, everything started to break. Marcus Holley had been a canine officer for 8 years. Quiet, disciplined, precise, the kind of officer who didn't talk much, but didn't miss anything. And beside him, always, was Atlas, a Belgian Malinois, highly trained. Explosives detection, tracking, suspect apprehension. But more than that, Atlas was tuned to Marcus in a way that went beyond commands. Breathing patterns, micro-movements, intent. They worked as one unit, until the night everything ended. A routine call, abandoned warehouse near the docks. Possible trafficking activity. Marcus and Atlas were first on scene. Backup delayed. Inside darkness. Movement. Voices. Then chaos. Radio static. Shouting. A flash of movement behind crates. And then gunfire. When it was over, 2 suspects were down. One undercover officer was dead, and Marcus Holley was holding the weapon. No body cam footage survived. Audio logs corrupted. Witness statements contradictory. But one thing remained consistent. The narrative. Marcus fired first. Marcus escalated. Marcus caused it. Atlas? Removed from the case immediately. Transferred. Reassigned. Silenced. Marcus never saw him again. The trial lasted less than 6 weeks. Evidence clean. Timeline structured. Too structured. Marcus barely spoke during sentencing. Just one sentence. I didn't pull first. No one believed him. Except maybe the one witness who couldn't speak. 10 years passed. Death row. Isolation. Routine. Until one request appeared in the system. Final visitation. Not family. Not clergy. Just one name. Atlas. Officer Daniel Brooks didn't like death row assignments. No one did. But he followed procedure, kept distance, did his job, until the request crossed his desk. He read it twice. And a third time, former K9 requesting contact with retired service animal. He exhaled slowly. That's not standard, but something about it stuck. Marcus Holley. The file was thick. Too thick for a clear case. Brooks flipped through it. Photos, reports, redactions, and then a note, buried. Handler K9 bond classified as high dependency operational pairing. Brooks frowned. Why separate them so fast? Why no behavioral follow-up? He made a call. Atlas had been reassigned 3 times. Now stationed with Officer Lena Carter. Younger handler. Good record. But her voice changed when Brooks explained. You're asking to bring him. There? Yes. Silence. Then, Atlas doesn't forget. Brooks didn't respond. Because he didn't know what that meant. Not yet. Atlas stepped out slowly. Older now. Scars faint beneath his coat. Eyes sharper. Focused. Carter clipped the leash. He's been different, she said. How? He reacts to things that aren't there. Like what? She hesitated. Like he remembers something he never finished. The prison air hit differently. Heavy. Still. Atlas noticed immediately. His pace slowed. Nose lifted. Processing. Cataloging. Then he stopped. Right near the intake desk. Not aggressive. Not confused. Locked. Carter tugged gently. Atlas, heel. Nothing. Brooks stepped closer. What's wrong with him? Carter shook her head. He's working. The closer they got to the execution wing, the more Atlas changed. Every step measured. Intentional. Then he veered. Not toward Marcus. Toward a side corridor. Storage. Evidence intake. Wrong way, Brooks said. But Atlas pulled. Hard. Leash tightening. Carter's grip strained. He's tracking something. Tracking what? She didn't answer. Because the answer didn't make sense. Inside the chamber, Marcus Halle sat restrained. Still. Calm. Too calm. Until the door opened, and Atlas entered. For the first time in 10 years, Marcus moved. Not forward. Not desperate. Just present. Hey, partner. His voice barely above a whisper. Atlas approached. Slow. Careful. Then pressed his head into Marcus's chest. A long breath. Recognition. Then everything shifted. Atlas pulled away, turned, and stared at Officer Brooks. Not Marcus. Not Carter. Brooks. Atlas stepped between them. Body angled. Protective stance. Low growl building. Control your dog, Brooks snapped. Carter's voice tightened. He's not reacting to Marcus. Then what is he reacting to? She looked at Brooks. You. The room froze. Marcus's eyes narrowed. Atlas doesn't guess. Brooks felt it then. A flicker. Something he couldn't explain. Step back, Carter said quietly. Brooks didn't move. Atlas barked. Sharp. Commanding. The kind of bark that meant stop. Now. 4:59 a.m. 1 minute. Protocol tightening. Tension rising. Remove the dog, a voice ordered over intercom. But Carter hesitated, because Atlas wasn't wrong. He had never been wrong. Then Atlas lunged forward. Not attacking. Grabbing. His teeth caught the edge of Brooks' pant, leg right near the ankle. Pulling. Insistent. Hey, control him. But Carter didn't pull him back, because Atlas wasn't biting. He was pointing. Brooks looked down, at his own leg, at the scuff mark, old, faded, from a warehouse floor 10 years ago. Marcus spoke, slow, measured. You were there. Silence. The memory cracked open. Just enough. Brooks swallowed. I was back up. Late backup, Marcus replied. Atlas growled again. Closer now. Focused. Carter's voice dropped. He's scent locking. On what? Gun residue. Brooks' breath hitched. That's impossible. Not for him. Atlas barked again. Urgent. Then he turned. Pulled. Dragging Carter toward the exit. Where is he going? But Carter followed, because now she needed to know. The storage room hadn't been opened in years. Dust thick. Air stale. Boxes stacked. Forgotten. Atlas moved with certainty. Straight to the back. Stopped. Sat, alert. Carter knelt. Checked the label. Case. Halle incident. Status. Archived. But something was off. Seal number didn't match the record. The box opened. Inside, a secondary evidence bag. Unlogged. Unreported. Carter's hands tightened. What is this? She opened it and froze. A body cam drive. Back in the chamber, time stalled. The clock hit 5 o'clock, but no one moved. Because something bigger had just entered the room. Truth. The footage flickered. Dark warehouse. Voices overlapping. Marcus moving forward. Atlas ahead. Then a second officer entering frame, behind Marcus. Gun raised, and a shot. Not from Marcus, from behind. Everything went silent. Marcus closed his eyes. Not in relief, in recognition. "I told you." Brooks stepped back, face pale. "I didn't see that?" Marcus looked at him. "You didn't look." Atlas sat beside Marcus. Still, calm, mission complete. Truth doesn't always arrive loudly. Sometimes it waits. Buried in evidence, no one checks. In memories, people avoid. In instincts, we're taught to ignore. But loyalty, real loyalty, doesn't disappear with time. It doesn't forget. Atlas didn't come back to remember Marcus. He came back to defend him. One last time. And maybe that's the quiet truth we all carry, that doing the right thing sometimes just means refusing to walk away from what feels wrong. If this story stayed with you, hold on to that. Because instinct, when it's honest, might be the closest thing we have to truth. The clock on the wall read 11:52 p.m. 8 minutes. That's all that remained. The execution chamber sat silent, sterile, waiting. A gurney, straps, witness glass dark on the other side. Guard Thomas Miller stood rigid near the door, keys steady in his hand, but his eyes kept drifting down the hallway. Because something wasn't right. The K-9 unit had just entered the corridor, and the dog stopped, not hesitated, stopped, ears forward, body locked, eyes fixed not on the prisoner, but on Miller. A low growl built in its chest, controlled, focused. "Wrong. Move him," Miller ordered. But the handler didn't move. "He's not refusing," the handler whispered. "He's alerting." On what? The dog took one step forward, then another. And instead of heading toward the condemned man, it turned directly toward the guard. What was supposed to be a final goodbye became something else entirely. Because this wasn't just a dog recognizing an old partner. This was a trained K-9 one of the best in the department doing something it had never done before. It was rejecting commands, challenging authority, and pointing clearly, unmistakably, at something no one else in that room was ready to face. A truth buried for 10 years, a mistake, or something worse. And once that truth started to surface, there was no way to contain it. If you've ever wondered whether instinct can see what systems miss, stay with this. Music. Low, reflective piano. 10 years earlier, Daniel Reyes wasn't a prisoner. He was Officer Reyes, K-9 unit, decorated, respected, trusted, and beside him always was Rex, a German shepherd with sharp eyes and sharper instincts. Rex wasn't just trained, he was precise. Explosives detection, narcotics tracking, suspect pursuit. But more than that, he was intuitive. He didn't just follow commands. He read people. Daniel used to say, "He knows when someone's lying before I do." And over time, everyone started to believe it. They were partners in the truest sense. Same patrol car, same shifts, same rhythm. Until one night broke everything. A warehouse call. Anonymous tip. Possible armed suspects. Daniel and Rex were first on scene. Backup was delayed. Protocol said wait. But something felt off. Rex sensed it too. He stiffened before they even entered. A warning. Daniel hesitated. Just for a moment. Then they went in. What happened inside was never fully explained. Gunshots. Confusion. Shouting. By the time backup arrived, 2 suspects were down, 1 officer injured, and Daniel Reyes, was being handcuffed. The official report said excessive force, escalation without cause, but there were gaps. Missing camera footage, conflicting testimonies, and Rex was reassigned within 24 hours. No review, no appeal, no goodbye. Daniel never saw him again. Until now, the request came in quietly, buried in paperwork. Final visitation preference. Most inmates asked for family. A priest, a phone call. Daniel Reyes asked for one thing. Rex, at first, the request was denied. No precedent. No protocol. But Daniel didn't argue, didn't appeal. He just waited. And somehow, that made it harder to ignore. Guard Miller noticed it first. The stillness, the lack of resistance. Most men at this stage unraveled. Anger, fear, bargaining. Daniel? He just sat, watching the door, as if he already knew something. Miller had processed dozens of inmates. He believed in procedure, in order, in finality, but this case? It lingered. The file didn't feel clean. It felt arranged. Pages too neat. Sections redacted too precisely. And one detail wouldn't leave him alone. No body cam footage. In a unit where that was mandatory. When the approval came through, it came with conditions. Short visit, full supervision, handler present at all times. No contact beyond standard limits. Officer Grant was assigned, Rex's current handler, 5 years in, by the book. But when Miller briefed him, Grant hesitated. Reyes? He said, that case? You know it? Grant nodded slowly. Rex never fully adjusted after that reassignment. Miller frowned. What do you mean? Grant looked down the corridor. He hesitates. Around certain environments. Like what? Like the kind of place where something didn't end right. The transport arrived just after 11:30 p.m. Rex stepped out first. Controlled, disciplined. But the moment his paws touched the ground, something shifted. He froze. Air pulled tight in his chest. Nose lifted, scanning. Then he moved. Not following Grant, leading. Inside, the prison felt colder. Even for a place like that, concrete swallowed sound. Light buzzed overhead, and Rex was working. Every step deliberate, every pause intentional. Grant tightened the leash. Easy, but Rex wasn't pulling, he was guiding. When they reached the inner corridor, he stopped, right in front of Miller, and stared. Not at his face. Lower, focused. Miller shifted. Keep him moving. Grant didn't. Rex, he said softly. Show me. The dog sat. Straight-backed. Still. Alert. Signal. Miller's stomach tightened. That's not possible. Grant didn't respond, because he knew exactly what it meant. Inside the cell, Daniel heard the footsteps. Slow. Measured. Then Rex. The sound cut through 10 years of silence. Daniel stood, chains pulling at his wrists, eyes locked forward. And when the door opened, time fractured. Rex moved first. Not wild, not uncontrolled, purposeful. He approached Daniel slowly, then pressed his head into his chest, breathing him in, confirming. Daniel closed his eyes. Just for a second. Hey, partner. Pause. No anger. No shock. Just recognition. But Rex didn't stay. He turned back toward the door, back toward Miller, and barked. Once. Sharp, precise. The room shifted. Grant stepped forward. Something's wrong. Miller's voice hardened. Control your dog. I am. No, you're not. Grant shook his head. He's not reacting to Reyes. He paused. He's reacting to something else. Miller felt it then. That subtle, creeping unease, like a memory just out of reach. Check him, he said. Grant nodded. Rex search. The dog moved. Not randomly, directly. Back toward Miller. And stopped. Again, at his side, at the pouch clipped to his belt. Miller's hand instinctively covered it. Step back. Rex didn't. Instead, he leaned in, nose pressing, breathing, then sat again. Alert. Signal. Grant's voice dropped. What's in the pouch? Nothing relevant. Then show me. Miller hesitated. Just long enough. And that's when Daniel spoke. From behind them, quiet, certain. He remembers. The pouch was opened. Inside a sealed evidence bag. Small, forgotten, unlogged, transferred during intake 10 years ago. Miller hadn't questioned it then. No reason to. But now Rex's entire body was focused on it. Grant swallowed. That's a scent lock. Miller frowned. Meaning? It's tied to something he was trained to identify. Like what? Grant didn't answer, because he already knew. Rex turned, moved toward the door, then stopped. Looked back, waiting. He wants us to follow, Grant said. Miller shook his head. This isn't procedure. But Rex didn't move, didn't break, just waited. And for the first time, that night Miller made a decision. Fine, he said. 5 minutes. SFX. Footsteps quicken. The corridor stretched long and silent. Rex led. No hesitation, no deviation. Until they reached a locked storage room. Archives. Old evidence. Unopened cases. Forgotten things. Rex stopped. Sat. Alert. Miller unlocked the door. Dust filled the air. Boxes stacked high. Labels faded. Time sealed inside cardboard. Rex moved through the room. Precise. Focused. And stopped at one box. Scratched once. Sat. The label read, Case closed. But the number didn't match. Miller's breath caught. No. Grant stepped closer. Open it. Inside a hard drive. Body cam unit. Untouched. That footage was reported destroyed, Miller whispered. Grant didn't wait. He plugged it in. Screen flickering. Static. Then movement. Warehouse. Dark. Shadows shifting. Voices. Daniel's voice. Calm. Controlled. Then another voice. Behind him. A shot rang out. But not from Daniel. From behind. From someone off camera. The footage tilted. Caught a glimpse. A badge. An officer. Firing. Then chaos. Then silence. Grant stepped back. That's not Reyes. Miller didn't speak. Couldn't, because he recognized the voice. The badge. The report he'd signed. He'd processed that evidence. Approved it, without question. And now the truth was standing in front of him. Alive. Unavoidable. Back in the chamber, the clock read 11:59 p.m. Phones rang. Orders broke. Procedures shattered. Stay the execution. Daniel sat, still, but something had changed. Not hope, not yet. Something quieter. Something deeper. Rex lay beside him, head resting against his leg, steady, certain, as if he'd never left. Truth doesn't always come from systems. Sometimes it comes from instinct, from loyalty that doesn't forget, from a bond that refuses to break, even when everything else does. Rex didn't follow orders that night. He followed something stronger, and because he did, a man got his life back. Not because of luck, not because of timing, but because someone refused to ignore what felt wrong. Pause, and maybe that's the real story. Not about a prison, not about a case, but about the moment someone chooses to stop and listen. If this stayed with you, hold on to that, because sometimes the smallest signal is the one that changes everything.